Hi everybody, I'm Laura Bowles. I'm the owner of The New Normal, and tonight is episode 8 of my Kids in Conflict series, and that means that we've just completed the 9th week of staying at home here in Northern Virginia. This past week we experienced our first family birthday in quarantine. Our 2-year-old turned 3, and I have to say, even though it was different than any other birthday I've experienced in my life, it was really beautiful in its own way. We had lots of yard visits from neighbors and a car parade and even an online virtual birthday party where lots of friends and family could sing happy birthday. So it was really cool. And at the end of the day, our daughter said, "I love all our neighborhood." And it made me feel really good just to know that she is still feeling the love of community near and far, even when she can't be with people in person and, touch them and hug them. So that's all. Just wanted to start with that. And to shift gears, I don't always feel that sense of contentment when my kids are fighting with each other. Actually, quite the opposite. When my kids have conflicts with each other, it feels like they're pressing all of my buttons at once. It feels like, for some reason, that is a big trigger for me, and it is often very difficult for me to respond in a productive way. Sometimes I find myself right in the middle of it with them and really don't help at all. That seems to be the default. But I'm really lucky because on my parenting journey, I have found that there are other ways to deal with conflict, not just the way that I default to for whatever reason. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight, is a different model for handling sibling conflicts and, really taking a moment to think about how you approach sibling conflicts so that, if you're going to be part of it in any way, that you're there in a supportive role and in a role that is actually going to help your children learn effective conflict resolution skills that they can use for the rest of their lives. So that's where I want to start tonight. So you might be thinking, if my role isn't to figure out who's right and wrong and dole out punishment and be the arbiter of justice, what is my job as a parent? And I have really good news for you, because the job that I'm going to help you understand as a parent that you can have in conflict is much less energy draining, and it is really effective. So tonight we're going to talk about that it's time, when your children have a conflict, to put your neutral hat on. All right, but seriously, that's what we're going to talk about. How to get yourself into a place where you can be neutral when you approach conflicts with your children. So the first thing I want you to think about is not the conflict, not what's going on with your kids when a conflict happens, but think about yourself and how can you compose yourself so that you're ready to step in and be present in a conflict. And if that means taking 5 more seconds to take a deep breath before you intervene in a conflict, that's fine, because the conflict is still going to be there to deal with after those 5 seconds. At this point, you want to tell yourself, this is their fight. It's not my fight to fight. I can be there for it, but this fight is between them. This conflict is between them. That's what it means to be neutral. It means that this is about their relationship. This is between the two of them, or more if you have, more than 2 children involved in a conflict. But it's not your fight. You don't have to take it personally. So you're really going to think about, what does it take for you to be calm, for you to be composed, for you to be able to think clearly. And at that point, once you've released yourself from being the judge and gotten into that headspace, then you're going to think for a second, should I intervene? is this requiring of my assistance? Something I've noticed, especially recently, is, my kids are getting a little bit older and they're not, a baby and a toddler having a conflict. I've noticed that sometimes when voices start to be raised and you hear that pitch, that means, oh, they're really not happy with each other. If I just wait a few minutes, they actually figure it out on their own before I can get in the room. And if I'm kind of approaching them around that time, that's when I pretend that I didn't hear anything that they said. But that can happen. If you take those few extra seconds, you might be surprised to find that they have gotten to a point where they've been able to figure out a resolution on their own. However, if you are noticing that the conflict is escalating and it's probably going to result in an altercation, or you are just hearing that, the maturity level where your kids are, they have maxed out their conflict resolution skills. So maybe they're, you hear that, it's mine. No, it's mine. I had it first. No, I had it first. You know what I'm talking about. If you're starting to hear that and they're really not getting anywhere, and it's just escalating, that is when it's your chance to intervene and really to bring the calm. So you are coming in as a presence, you're bringing your energy into the conflict, and the more calm you can bring into the conflict, the better chance there is that they will be able to respond to you. So think for a second about how you are physically approaching them in conflict. Are you storming in and grabbing the object that they're fighting over and throwing it in the trash? Or are you towering over them and yelling at them to stop fighting? I can't say that I haven't done these things. Or are you approaching them and getting close to them, but not getting in the middle? Are you approaching them calmly and just getting down on their level and listening attentively? So for the sake of practice, let's look at option C and what that really looks like. So that's what you want to do. You want to approach with as much calm as possible and to show them that you're there. You are not on one side or the other. You're just present and you're listening. And this is where you are also going to show them that you trust them. I know this is hard, but you are conveying to them that you believe, actually, you know that they're going to figure it out and that this is their conflict and that they own it and they're gonna find a way. And if you can approach with that mindset and with that belief in mind, and that knowing that your children are smart and capable and they can handle it, that is going to send a strong message because it will convey to them that you trust them and that you're going to get through it together. That doesn't mean that they don't need your support. You are their parent, you're teaching them a lot, you're teaching them how to handle conflicts. But if you can kind of put the neutral hat on and think in that way, get into that headspace where you're really trusting them, and even saying that to them, you can say, it sounds like there's a conflict here. Conflict is when two people don't agree on something. Am I right? Is this a conflict? And, just come to them with that kind of curiosity and interest in what's going on, but not automatically, taking sides and being the judge. That goes a long way in showing them what your role is in conflict. If you're looking for some of those specific curiosity tools or curiosity things that you can say in a conflict, you can go back to episode 5 where I talk a lot about curiosity. But really at this point, the most important thing is to listen and be patient, to show them that you're listening to them. Sometimes just shining a light on the conflict and hearing them talk about what's happening is the road to conflict resolution. And I know that sometimes as a parent, we have other things going on. We don't always have a lot of time. But when we do have the time and we're able to kind of let go of our own need to solve the problem, and when we start to get a little bit antsy, we want to kind of jump in and be done with it, if we can let some of that go, children often will get farther than we think that they can. So that's where I really want to encourage you at that point to just listen, be patient as much as possible, and try as hard as you can to not give your opinion or to go to one side or the other, even when it really feels like you know that one of them did something wrong. If you give it some time, you'll be surprised at where it goes. So at this point, I don't want to get bogged down in the details of what to do next. I want you to really focus on how you can compose yourself and how you can bring that calm to conflict situations. I want you to think about, what does that look like for me? Does it mean I need to learn a new breathing technique and practice it daily so that I'm able to access it easily when I start to feel myself getting triggered? Does it mean that I should talk to my kids and tell them, hey, I'm going to try out something new. When you guys are having a fight, I am not going to pick sides. I'm just going to listen. I'm going to try that out and see what that looks like. You can be honest about it and, kind of see how they respond to it. Does it mean that you pick out a silly hat and call it your neutral hat and put it on when you hear your kids starting to have a fight? And you can tell them, this is my neutral hat. It means I'm not going to be on one side or the other, but I'm a really good listener. So I just want you to think about, what does that mean to you? Having composure, learning how to be calm, and approaching conflict in a neutral way. And I want you to practice it a few times this week and pay attention to how your family responds to it. See if there's a difference in where conflicts go when you take this approach instead. And finally, I just want to say that, conflict is hard because it's emotional. It brings up a lot of emotions in us. And so when I say, oh, be calm, be composed, I know it sounds easy and I'm oversimplifying it because it does bring up emotions for us. So that's why it takes practice. And I'm practicing right along with you, and I make lots of mistakes. So if today is a day that you're feeling like I was really calm and composed and went really smoothly, or you're feeling like I need to practice a lot more because right now I am on that emotional roller coaster of conflict, either way, it's okay. You are doing a great job, and your kids are so lucky to have you.